Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Mark Wallace.
That was Francesco Lotoro playing Kołysanka, a lullaby written by the Polish composer and pianist Adam Kopyczynski at Auschwitz, where he served as conductor of the orchestra. Kopyczynski and his prisoner orchestra were forced to accompany the marches of camp prisoners and to entertain the SS, including Auschwitz Commandant Rudolf Höss. A lullaby, perhaps music's most intimate form, and certainly one universally known, composed in secret amidst Auschwitz's horrors. The soothing chords meant for children in a place made by monsters. Many lullabies were composed in the camps. One was written by a Polish Jew, Aaron Liebskin, at Treblinka, after his wife and 3-year-old son were sent to the gas chamber. Liebskin called it Lullaby for My Little Son in the Crematorium. Today, on this day of remembrance, we will hear the voices, the musical compositions of those that faced the genocide of the Shoah. And of course, today is about remembrance. For 81 years, we have remembered, and we have all agreed that we must never forget, as Elie Wiesel famously wrote. 81 years later, sadly, though, it's clear that remembrance has not been enough to eradicate hatred and anti-Semitism. Never forget has proven not enough. Wiesel also knew that remembrance alone was not enough. He said, "Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere." Sometimes we must interfere. The music you will hear today is interference, unassailably so. In the face of the worst human horrors, beautiful minds and souls created music with dignity and resilience, defiance and hope. So today, I ask you not only to remember, but to honor those we remember with interference. It is a powerful riposte to today's anti-Semitism. As we fight indifference and hatred, those voices brought back to life through this music cannot be demeaned or diminished by false moral equivalencies. We must all interfere with dignity, resilience, defiance, and hope. What does that mean? For me, that includes affixing a mezuzah on the doorframe of the former commandant's house at Auschwitz. For me, that includes lighting a menorah in the darkness of the former commandant's house and casting the glow of that light onto Auschwitz. As we have been taught to keep remembrance close, we must also commit every day to interfere and confront the anti-Semitism in our midst. So now to our next compositions. The first song, Frühling, was written by Avram Brodna. It transports us to the summer of 1941, when German troops conquered Lithuania, resulting in the brutal deaths and deportation of Jews. The Vilnius ghetto housed the majority of the Jewish population. The second song, Lublin, Lublin, was written by an unidentified composer from Lublin, Majdanek. In the Majdanek camp, there was a shortage of musical instruments. Therefore, Soviet prisoners and Slovak Jews created music centered mostly on vocal production. Herschel Teichmann memorialized this song in Majdanek. Although his family died in Treblinka, Herschel survived because his 2 sisters pushed their little brother out of the train to Treblinka as it slowed at a curve. They interfered. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce a man that has devoted his life to collecting the music of the Shoah, his life to this work. My great friend, Francesco Lotoro.
Wechsel und kenn nicht gewinnen kein Hort. Ist mein Lieber wie trockt, wenn immer Menschen sagt und Schawort. Es leuchtet mein Heim jetzt der Himmel, neue und frische hab ich davon. Ich steh wie a Bettler bei jedem Teuer und bettel a Wiesele zu. Nimm's zu mein Treue, bring mein Liebsten, mein Treuen zu ihm. Aus der ewigen Bläue, ohne mein Hartes Lieb, und enges mein Knie. Auf der ewigen Bläue, ohne mein Hartes Lieb, und enges mein Knie. Zu der Arbeit vorbei unser Stiebel und der Teuer vermacht. Der Yoga zerhält die Blumen verwelkte, sie weinen, verblüht ist euch Nacht. Verneig euch zurück, wächst es Neue, der Treuer und noch ist gewahrt. Und da in dem Schotten noch kennt ich dein Treus, verkuschen mich lieblich und zart. Frieden, denkst zu mein Treue, und bring mein Liebsten, mein Treuen zu ihm. Frieden, und der ewigen Bläue, ohne mein Herz, und bring es mein Frieden, und der ewigen Bläue, ohne mein Herz, und bring es mein Glück.
Mieszy Lublinie, niedaleko od stacji, tam oboże, gdzie leża i głód, tam na słomie życzaki sopiają, przejdzie bibłony, beże na skit. Lublin, Lublin, obóz, obóz, to jest nasza niewola, oprócz noszenia łaty, poniżenia ulebaty i dawkucha wciąż i wciąż. Dziewiąta wieczór, komenda do spania, a o świcie na nogach już stój. Czarna złomie, że jest nasze dnianie, czym do roboty pakaja haruj. Lublin, Lublin, obóz, obóz, to jest nasza niewola, oprócz noszenia łaty, poniżenia ulepaty i to wkółko wciąż i wciąż. O 12
Please welcome Alan Hall.
The lullaby is one of our oldest musical forms. It is both beautiful and useful. The lullabies that we have from the camps are striking examples. They are written to comfort children and to mourn them. They were dedicated to children sent away to safety and sung to ease the passing of those who did not make it. As a child, my own experience of the Holocaust was in so many ways one of silence. My family and I survived by quieting our voices, concealing our identities, but our survival also depended on creativity and perseverance. My mother and I hid in a closet in a Nazi administrative building in Warsaw that housed the Luftwaffe, the Nazi Air Force headquarters, on the top 2 floors above us. My father created a fictitious company to conceal us. In the evenings, he also created an entire world from me, the imagined kingdom of Hoka Boka Doka. To comfort me, he would repeat same stories about a king and queen and prince, me. I was 7 to 9, and this creation kept me quiet and entertained as we sat in a dark, cramped closet for 2 years. Like a lullaby, these stories were a relief at the end of my day. They were also a tool for our survival. Our second lullaby tonight is Kolanska Oświęcimska, written by Polish composer Henryk Leszczynski in Mauthausen, one of the Reich's most brutal camps. Following that, we will hear for the first time in the United States, a song written in a women's labor camp called Perchins. Bela Bogarty wrote the song Pianist. My Polish is a little weak. Rosinski, in secret on a sheet of stolen paper. Only the one day a month that they were allowed to rest. Maestro Lotoro met Mrs. Bogarty in Rio de Janeiro in 2015. She sang the song to him, and we will hear it tonight now.
Matt Schlapp.
Good evening. The Holocaust was not an accident of war. It was the deliberate and ideological attempt to erase an entire people. We are here to confront the truth about what happens when dehumanization is allowed to grow unchecked. It is not a relic of the past, and it is not confined to just one side. It is a hatred that has survived centuries by changing its language, its symbols, and its excuses. And we must say something uncomfortable. The West still does not understand the depth and persistence of anti-Semitism, including in this very capital. My Catholic faith demands that I be guided by a belief that every human life is created with dignity, purpose, and infinite worth. That belief carries with it a responsibility to recognize and confront evil wherever it takes root. Anti-Semitism did not begin with the Holocaust, nor did it end there, and its consequences do not stop with the Jewish people. The next two songs we will hear arise from the universally devastating effects of extreme ideology left unchecked. Alongside the 6 million Jews of Europe, more than 500,000 Roma were murdered in what they call the pogroms, or also known as the devouring. They were persecuted, deported, and annihilated under the same mechanisms. But still, Roma music flourished even in the camps. As you will hear, it was immediate, expressive, and profoundly human, marked by freedom and emotional truth. The song Boot Fachunga, Boot Maro Pekal, a song created in the camp in the traditional style of the Burgenland Roman people. The next song arises from the site of evil. Moon Above the Gobi was composed by the American prisoner of war Edmund Jones Lilly, who survived the Bataan Death March and was later imprisoned in the military incarceration camps in Taiwan before being transferred to Manchukuo. a camp notorious for its extreme conditions, torture, and even human medical experimentation. Like every song on this program, Lily's song is a defiant retort from a place designed to silence and dehumanize.
Igen
You will now hear 2 original recordings, followed by live performances. The first is Über Fremde Wegen End, written by Lebu Levin, a Romanian Jewish musician. The next is Heil Sachsenhausen, sung by Alexander Kulishevich, a Polish political prisoner who memorized 716 songs, sung to him by fellow prisoners.
Über fremde Wegen blonget mein Lied, wird es jüter fragen, ahin wo es sieht. Mame, meine Triebe, guckst da raus auf mir, wie viel hab noch Liebe? Geht sie zu dir.
Über fremde Wegen blonzet mein Lied, wälzt es sich der Fregen, ein Poesie. Mame, meine Triebe, guckst da reus auf mir, wie viel kommt noch Liebe, geht sie zu dir. Harmst in Ukraine, Summe und kalt, siehst im Bukowine, ich bin noch kein Wald, mit Qualle dicke Kräunen, mit Samen Duft und Grins, dreht das in der Säune, dann hol mich fies. Sitz nämlich do Ardune, ich steck euch Muset mit mein Umwelt, sie bist du Stoll, wachst unter der Säule, Tante Mame heim, sie verzerrt den Steunen, sie wirst du über fremde Wegen blonzet mein Lied, wälzt es sich der Fregen, ein wo es sieht. Miesreg Wind durchweht doch durch Schoßgrab in Vollleim, nimm Drogen von der Dreisfort, die Mames der Heim. Die Mames der
Jestem sobie na pudziki, scheißen Polusch ham. Und warum denn do Afriki, du Kolonie mam? Guck Kupili cię chłopie, kupili z gnatami, krew ci z mordy kapie, ale schweißt egal. Ei, Sachsenhausen.
Jestem sobie na podziki, scheiße Polus Cham. Und warum denn do Afriki, tu kolonie mam? Kupili cię chłopie, kupili z gnatami, krew ci z mordy kapie, ale scheißegal. Kolonia gwarna, parna, Germania wichtig się kapie, Kierowniczek jak bambusik, trupie łeb i toga kruszy. Es lebe Kulturkampf. Nadjen sobie zafunduję, Polacisko ja. Gibt's denn sowas wie Bessie, śliczne oczka ma? A z tym Mädchen matki i z durnego tatki, będą kitkiet kratki, schwarz und weiß und rot. Sachsenhausen, los pawioni rajów, zagwiednie ludzko szkar. Sachsenhausen, a ja werden Jugendsiegam, Lebernutzka, Schießerfiekam, es lebe Kulturkampf.
Please welcome former United States Representative Ileana Ross-Lehtinen.
Thank you. The Holocaust was not only a genocide of people, it was an attempted annihilation of culture, of language, of belief, of imagination itself. And yet, even in ghettos, even in camps, even in prisons, creativity endured. Music composed under persecution carries fear and hope, despair and defiance. When Maestro Lotoro and his orchestra performed this music tonight, the past is speaking in the present, with truth and with defiance. As a child who fled an authoritarian regime, I learned early that freedom is fragile and that silence in the face of injustice is never neutral. Throughout my years in public service, I have been proud to stand with the Jewish people, to defend memory, and to confront antisemitism wherever it appears. For the lessons of the Holocaust are not confined to history books. For me, remembrance is not symbolic. It is active and it is moral. Memory requires civic, cultural, and artistic spaces where truth is preserved and voices are protected. Every performance like tonight's becomes an act of responsibility, a place where history is honored and humanity is allowed to endure. We will shortly hear a voice restored. Sigmund Schul was born in Germany in 1916 and fled to Prague as a child, where he immersed himself in Jewish religious music and documented the songs of a community soon to be destroyed. Deported with his wife to Theresienstadt in 1941, he composed a duo for violin and viola inside the camp, in secrecy and under constant threat. This duo is often described as unfinished, but in fact, it was completed, and almost certainly it was rehearsed, perhaps even performed in the camp. The surviving manuscript shows complete bar numbers and rehearsal markings, allowing us to know precisely what was lost: the first 74 measures of the opening movement. Those pages were lost, not unwritten. Through the extraordinary work of Francesco Lotoro, these missing measures have now been reconstructed with scholarship and care. The piece we will now hear is a world premiere. It restores a silence beginning and refuses to let absence have the final word. In hearing this music, we must affirm that what was meant to be erased endures. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jacek Persky.
Good evening. I'm Jacek Persky. I'm Polish. I want to share that these words were written by Hadassah Lieberman. Sadly, due to travel issues, she's unable to be with us tonight. But she asked us to share them on her behalf. Hadassah was named for her grandmother, who was murdered in Auschwitz. Her name was Esther, which in Hebrew is Hadassah. The name lives on with her. It is a reminder of a life taken and of an obligation to remember those who could not speak for themselves. That responsibility shaped her life, and it shaped the life of her husband, Senator Joe Lieberman. The senator was deeply proud of his Jewish identity, and throughout his public service, he was a strong advocate for the Jewish people and for Israel. He believed that moral clarity matters and that history demands not only remembrance, but action. His voice was guided by truth and by the lessons of Jewish history that they did not forget. In moments of renewed trauma like October 7, those lessons feel painfully immediate. Music has always been one of the most powerful ways those lessons reach across time. Among those who created music in captivity were countless anonymous musicians, artists who either could not or choose not to sign their compositions. Often written in secret, this music survived through extraordinary means. Hidden on scraps of paper, sewn into clothing, carved into bowls, traced into soil, or carried only in memory, surviving from persons to person over generations. Shortly, we will hear two such songs that survived only because two women carried them in their memories for decades. There were no written traces, only sounds preserved in the minds of survivors. Reva Keyboard remembered dort in dem Lager. Malka Kahana remembered in Auschwitzer Flammen. Tonight, for the first time in America, those songs will be heard, not as echoes of the past, but as living acts of remembrance. Thank you.
Dort in den Lager, in a Winkel bei Nacht, sitzt sich a jüdisch Mädel, abgerissen und vertracht. Von Wagen gespringen, mit dem Leben resikiert. Wie hat man mei Taten, mei Mammen weggeführt? Tater, Mama meine, wie groß ist der Pein. Der einzige Säune meiner ist von Tug die Schein.
in dem Lager, in a Winkele bei Nacht, sieht sich jede Schmiedere, ob ist unvertraut. Der Wagen springe, mit der Leben ritzigert, wo Gott mein Taten, mein Mann war weggefährt. Tode Mame meiner, wie groß ist sie bald, die einzige Säune meine, jetzt vom Tag die Schein, alle Mitteln hab ich schon probiert, und doch bin ich geworden verwehrt. Und was war ich euch da, auf die unglückliche Schau? Gott scheuert Mannes, Gott jeder einer tut es und teuten mir die Finger, verdädrig von neu und was war ich euch da, auf die unglückliche Schau? Gott scheuert Mannes, Gott Wie groß seien meine Wunden, Mame, wo bist du verschwunden? Du bist doch von mir, oi weh gekommen, nicht einmal Beckquores, bist du dir zu gefallen. Muss ich hab es koidisch auf dir Nacht, zu bepeuer neue Euch. Häuse fallen von mir, Stecker Fleisch, wenn ich du mich, oi der Mannen,
Ladies and gentlemen, Maestro Shahinkar.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Maestro Shahinkar. I am here as an Iranian woman to pay the tribute to the victims of the Holocaust and to remember the most horrific crime in human history. We gather on this day to honor the 6 million Jewish lives murdered by an extremist ideology that carried on genocide on an industrial scale. Every victim had a name, a story, a dream, and a future. But remembrance is not only an act of looking back. Remembrance must lead to action. It is our responsibility to learn from the evils of the past in order to prevent the evils of the future. Because antisemitism did not end with the Nazi regime. For 46 years, the Ayatollah's regime occupying my country has denied the Holocaust. For 46 years, it has been the world's leading state sponsor of antisemitism. And for 46 years, it has sought to eradicate the Jewish people. On October 7th, the Ayatollah's terror proxy Hamas killed over 1,200 people and took hundreds hostage in most horrific attack on the Jewish people since the Shoah. The terror and antisemitism is resurgent. That is why we must remember. That is why I remember. And that is why we must say, never again. I stand before you today not only as an Iranian woman, but as someone who has paid a big personal price in the pursuit of freedom. On October 15, 2022, during the Women's Life Freedom protests in Iran, I took the streets alongside my mother. That evening, I was deliberately shot in the eye at point-blank range by the regime security force, leaving me permanently blind in one eye. As I speak to you tonight, crimes against humanity continue in Iran. Thousands of unarmed civilians had been killed, tortured, imprisoned, or blinded simply for demanding dignity and freedom. I am only one of hundreds of thousands of victims of the same extremist regime, and they deny the Holocaust and openly calls for the destruction of the Jewish people, but will remain resilient. In Iran, where music and dance are banned, they have become acts of resistance. And tonight, as I listen to music performed here, as Iranians, we stand with the Jewish people together in the shared struggle against hate with the courage, dignity, and defiance. Across history, in humanity's darkest moments, music has served a bridge between suffering and hope, memory and survival. Tonight, we cross that bridge through music. The tango you are about to hear, Niebieska nie dziewica, the Blue Shepherd, was composed in 1945 in the Ibenze concentration camp by Adam Kopieńczyński, a Polish composer and prisoner of Auschwitz, who used the music not as escape, but as resistance. Kopieńczyński survived the Holocaust and went on to found the Wrocław Philharmonic and wrote many songs for Polish radio. His music is proof that even in a system designed to destroy, the human spirit cannot be extinguished. Thank you.
Cięcisze pije i w dziełach moich gaśnie skryw. Dla Ciebie jeszcze tylko żyje. Święcenia śpiew, a mój ostatni śpiew. Nie wiem, kto piosenka niesie, jak książę w wiesie gdzieś sim. Może ptak, który słucha leśnie, lub piszą mi Dunaje Wisły to nie czas, zamiast wolności jest marzenie. Zjawisko piękne biło kiedyś gros, kiedyś się korza domy kwiaty, Łzami kwitną taki dzień, póki się cenia kamer prostoły, idzie ten poszły jeden dzień, dziś sławniejszy jest aleja, na gojura jechać wie, gdy obozły nad tą rzeką, tam mnie pismie za drutami dziwni ludzie, a szepczet krotwy przeszepty, licznik czorci trudzie, a każdy w nich posmutne sny. Nocą się świeci niecząbica, a szesło szkotan wielki wóz, pokusą koła jego świecą, gdy potrzebie niebem o mnie wiózł. O czas od nieba jego czujdzie, gdy ją bakiacy zwisze szlef, i serce wiesie nie szalpijże, pusista śpiewam po śpiew. Za Dunajem za górami, bo tak krótkiejszą sfera jest. Dzisiaj tłoknie piękna pamięć i już nie tyz niebieski pes. I choćby nawet księży ścinno, i gdyby nawet wolnym był, a zawsze będzie w trudach było. Serce więzione, rest
Please welcome Sophia Sachs.
Francesco Lotoro's collection contains a violin that belonged to a Polish musician who was sent to Auschwitz at 17, exactly my age. Later, his widow donated the violin to Mr. Lotoro, who restored it so that it could play music again. He did not leave it as an artifact, which some historians wanted because, as Mr. Lotoro says, he is not a museum, he is a musician. Just as the music composed in the camps must live again, so must a musical instrument devastated by the same imprisonment. As the last generation of survivors fades, this work becomes more and more important, especially for young people like me. My children will not be able to meet any Holocaust survivors, but they will be able to hear this music. The next two songs are written by an Italian composer and prisoner of war, Arturo Coppola. The first is dedicated to Carlotta, the daughter of Coppola's bunkmate, Giovannino Guareschi. As Christmas 1944 approached, Guareschi's thoughts returned obsessively to his home and family. He imagined himself as a stranger and a poet, describing young Carlotta leaning from a balcony, waiting for the father she had never met. Guareschi wrote these lyrics in his bunk one night and passed them to Coppola above him. Once put to music, this short verse became the unexpected hit of the summer of 1944, performed almost everywhere throughout the camp. The second piece we are about to hear is Preghiera by Coppola. This song is not a prayer in the religious sense, but it is a song that longs to break out of captivity. Tonight, we do our part to set it free.
Nel mattino senza colore si scatena il vento e porta cupo gelo nel cuore. Nel paese del sole tutto luce e calore, sulla sua seggiolina la Carlottina sta. La mamma l'ha annunciato con estrema serietà: il babbo tornerà, ma certo tornerà. E deve stare buona buona sul balcone, guardando sempre là verso il cantone. Seduta sul balcone la Carlotta se ne sta e aspetta quel papà che visto mai non ha. Alessandro invero ragguardevole apprensione sospira masticando il biberone. Chissà come sarà questo famosissimo marito di mamma. Forse avrà i baffon, la barba ed il pancion, la pipa ed il baston e gli occhiali col cordon. Chissà che scassatissimo papà. Ormai tramonta il sole, tutta azzurra la città. Per oggi non verrà cattivo d'un papà. Gli occhietti già si schiudono sulla nuova delusione. Il sonno fa cadere il biberon. Giace il lager muto, senza vita, senza domani. Le baracche vuote, le torrette senza guardiani. Nel paese del sol, sempre luce e calore, sulla sua seggiolina la Carlottina sta. La mamma l'ha annunciato con estrema serietà: il babbo tornerà, ma certo tornerà. Però deve stare buona buona sul balcone, guardando sempre là verso il cantone. Seduta sul balcone la Carlotta se ne sta e aspetta quel papà che visto mai non ha. E palesando invero ragguardevole apprensione sospira masticando il biberone. Chissà come sarà questo famosissimo marito di mamma. Forse avrà i baffon, la barba ed il pancion, la pipa ed il baston e gli occhiali col cordon. Chissà che scassatissimo papà. Ed ecco appare all'angolo uno splendido guerrier, le stelle sul cimier, d'argento il suo piastrino, il giustacuore azzurro ed i bottoni tutti d'oro, e il babbo intorno quasi vincitore. E il babbo torna quasi vincitore.
Finally, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rabbi Penny Dunner.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight because memory is a responsibility. The Nazis did not merely seek to destroy Jewish bodies. They sought to desecrate Jewish identity, to mock what Jews held holy, and to turn symbols of faith into devices of humiliation. That is why remembrance matters. Not just to recall what happened, but to understand it, how cruelty was calculated and deliberate and vindictive in its symbolism. But even in such darkness, music remained a fragile vessel of humanity, something the Nazis tried to silence, but did not fully erase. As a rabbi, I'm always aware that Judaism is a chain of memory, passed from generation to generation. And when that chain is broken, something irreplaceable is lost. I've met survivors who carried their memories in silence, born of pain, survival. Tonight reminds us that listening is a sacred act. To listen is to honor those who could not speak, and to ensure that what they experienced is not reduced to numbers, but rather remembered as lives. The final song you're going to hear tonight carries such a memory. In Judaism, as many of you know, the number 613 carries special significance. It represents the 613 mitzvot, the commandments that form the moral and spiritual framework of Jewish life. In one camp, Merzbachtal, the Nazis cruelly twisted this symbolism. The camp held 1,200 Polish and Hungarian boys, Jewish boys, most of them teenagers. The Nazis selected 613 of them for death. Now, to avoid suspicion, they changed the number to 612 and told the boys they were going to be transferred to England in a prisoner exchange. 615 boys climbed onto the trucks. The Nazis ordered 3 of the boys to step down voluntarily. One of those boys who stepped down was a young lad called Jack Garfein from Munkach. He was 13 years old. Stepping down from that truck saved his life. The other 612 boys were murdered in the gas chambers. As the boys waited, one of them, a friend of Jack's, with a beautiful voice, couldn't remember his name later in life. He kept singing a Yiddish song that he'd composed, Tears Mein Herz. Jack was the only survivor of his entire family, and he never sang that song again. He kept it locked away in silence until one day he traveled to Italy where he met Francesco Lotoro, and he finally sang it. The melody was transcribed and rescued from silence. So, what you will hear now isn't just a song. It's a memory that's been returned to the world. As the final piece of this evening, it reminds us that even when everything was taken, the human voice endured. Zachor, remember. And in remembering, may we carry those voices forward so that their song becomes our responsibility. Thank you.
I wish I could have even remembered more, but I was a kid, but to me, I still cannot conceive how I thought the importance of that song. And I don't know, the thought just came to me now that possibly it even helped me survive, because I kept thinking, oh, I'm the one that was taken out of the group. I have to remember that. And, I was 13 years old. And there was this boy who had the most beautiful voice. And I realized the importance of that song somehow. But I loved that boy's voice, and I would always listen to him sing. And this one he composed himself,
Yes.
So...
Do you remember the name of this Polish?
No, I wish I did.
But do you remember the song?
Yeah, of course.
Do you want to play for us?
Sure. It's... Sie ist mein Herz, kein Herz von keinem Menschen. Sie hab ich recht, ja zu leben, oder nein. In Verwuss kennt man nicht, von mein Leben zu genießen. Als mein Jugend soll weggehen, elend, jummerdig und wie. Sie ist mein Herz, kein Herz von keinem Menschen. Sie hab ich recht, ja zu leben. Sorry.
Sie ist mein Herz, kein Herz von keinem Menschen. Sie hab ich recht, ja zu leben unter Wein. Und war was Kind mir nicht von mein Leben zu genießen. Als mein Jugend soll aber gehen, elend jummerdig.
Good evening. My name is Robin Broidy. As we close tonight, a final song and our encore, the Strastenhofer hymn was written by Masha Rolnikaite, a 15-year-old Lithuanian Jewish girl imprisoned in Strastenhof labor camp. On rare Sunday afternoons, forced labor paused, and this was their so-called free time. Masha later wrote, that they would not accept the idea of freedom in such a place. And so they sang instead.
Wir seien die Straßen verhieden, das neue Europa wollen nie. Die Arbeit was mich oben ist verschieden, oben Zores oben wir gehen erschienen. Ach, Straßenloh, alles ist du hin, ach, Straßenloh, wie der Blätter schön du hin, ach, Straßenloh, der Rest muss sein, wir werden wieder zweimal frei. Mit der Leube nicht von älterem Verlage, wird jeden Sonntag oben musiziert und Leute befehlen von älteren euer Schlage, wird jeden Sonntagmorgen exerziert. Ach, Straßenloh, heute zu Salz ist so hin, ach, Straßenloh, wieder mit Leuten schon gut hin, ach, Straßenloh, der Frisch und Tore sein, und wir werden wieder so befreit. Es muss werden marschiert und gesungen, ihr Tod ist ein steif wie ein Brett. Ihr muss oben gesunde Lungen, eu wir wird einmal verlosen den KZ.